Hi, I'm Josh Fielster with Native Instruments, here at NAMM 2009, showing off Maschine. Maschine was our big announcement here in the Instruments division for the show here in 2009. And Maschine is a hardware-software combination that leverages the classic Groovebox style of working. So if we were familiar with Groovebox Production Studios, you'll find a lot of things inside Maschine that you'll be very used to seeing. But then also, in typical Native Instruments fashion, we've then taken that basic idea and pushed it over the edge, adding a lot of other features and things that enhance the workflow. Workflow is really important to us. We wanted you to be able to get in beats and sequences really, really quickly and be able to tweak them very quickly. Workflow, also integration. Maschine is going to work really well with outboard gear, with other software, with other sequencers and things like that. So without further ado, I'll give you a couple breakdowns on a few of the features. The very first thing is that it comes with about a 5 GB library, and that's across about 14,000 different samples. So if I want to load a kit out of that library, I can just hit browse. I can tell Maschine what kind of kit I want to load. Like I can tell it I want to load a vinyl kit. These are all kits that are taken directly from records. Like so, that was one particular kit. Then I can come in here and swap out individual samples. So if I'm happy with my kit in general, but I want to change just the snare sound, I'm looking at about 14,000 different samples that I can put on there, but it's easy to get just the right one quickly because we've put in a feature called Quick Browse. As soon as I hit the snare drum, it's going to show me all the snare drums that are very close to that one in the sonic neighborhood. And then from there I can add some more tags and say, be really specific and say I want it to load a side stick. I only want to see the side sticks, for example. So even though you've got about 14,000 different sounds in here, you can get to them pretty darn quickly. Now, as soon as you load a kit in, it's also going to bring in a few patterns with it. And I can switch between patterns really quickly. Of course, I can also make my own patterns. I'll turn the metronome on here. And then I'll hit record. Now it's going to play right in the part I just played. From here I could add more parts to it if I wanted to. And of course from here, I could quantize it. I'll copy this pattern somewhere else, and now I can make more changes to the copied version of the pattern. But one thing that's really cool about Maschine as far as programming, you've got a feature in here called Note Repeat. We're pretty excited about this one. What it will do is it will play a given pad at a fixed quantization interval repeatedly. So, for instance, 8th notes, 16th notes, 32nd notes. So if I want to use this creatively, like so. So that's note repeat. You've also got up to 2 different effects per pad. I've got 16 different pads, I can do 2 different effects. You also have 8 groups. I'm just showing you one group of 16. I can have up to 8 of these, so lots and lots of different sounds inside Maschine. I'll give you an example of some of the effects that are inside Maschine. Let's put a reverb on this snare drum. So I'll just hit the snare drum, I'll go back into browse mode, I'll tell it I want a reverb, and I immediately have a reverb on the snare drum. Only the snare drum. You notice that these pads are very sensitive. They're not like some of the pads in drum machines. I can do 32nd notes with these pretty easily. They're very, very sensitive pads. So got a little bit of the effects there. I'm going to go ahead and add an effect now onto this entire kit so you can sort of hear what it sounds like. This is what we call the reflex. Very cool. You can also sample directly in a Maschine. I can sample external sources like records, musicians playing live. I can also sample internal sources. I can sample Maschine's own audio and take, for instance, this loop and sample it. I'll sample the loop you're hearing, and I'll put it on its own pad, right inside Maschine. So I'll hit start here. It'll go sample that bar. There's immediately I can see my sample right there. And now what I have is exactly the loop you were hearing, but now it's an audio file on one of these pads. so you can resample its own input. You can also chain songs together and make larger patterns. You've got all kinds of instrument sounds in here, basses, keys, synth pads, wires, all kinds of stuff you can add inside here. And then we also have a way for you to render to audio. You can create a finished 2-track master from Maschine that will go directly to CD, for example. You can also render out individual drum kits as their own audio file and drag those into your sequencer. But this whole thing is also a plugin. The entire Maschine environment, the hardware-software combination, will run as a plugin inside Logic, Cubase, Pro Tools, Ableton Live, all that kind of thing. So you don't have to commit to audio. As soon as you're ready to bring it into your sequencer, you can just bring it into your sequencer right as a plugin, and then add some more parts from your sequencer, maybe add some additional instruments right alongside Maschine. It integrates with your sequencer. I could put individual sounds on Maschine to their own mixer channel inside your sequencer, for example. So workflow and integration were very important to us, and so that's what we've announced. NAMM 2009. It should be shipping early March. Maschine.